Okay, so let's unpack this. I want you to close your eyes for a second. Well, unless you're driving.
Right. Please keep them open if you're driving.
Yeah, definitely do that. But assuming you're safe, just imagine the phrase elemental magic. What is the very first image that pops into your head? Like, be honest.
I mean, it's the video game cover art, isn't it?
Exactly. It's that blockbuster movie trailer vibe. You know, a wizard on a jagged mountain peak, robes flapping in this perfectly convenient gale.
Throwing a fireball the size of a minivan.
Right. Or calling down a massive lightning storm to wipe out a whole goblin army. It's all flash, bang, and spectacle. Basically, it's about being a weapon.
That is the popular image, yeah. It's the cinematic version. But if we actually look at the source material we have in front of us today.
Oh, the documents from the Manaheim College of Elemental Magic?
Exactly. Specifically the curriculum, their faculty profiles, the architectural blueprints. The reality is almost hilariously different.
It is so different. I was reading through the college's overview, and there's this one line in the introduction that completely hooked me.
Oh, the definition of the discipline.
Yes.
Yeah.
It describes the entire discipline of elemental magic not as, like, ultimate cosmic power, but as, and I quote, force, balance, and the academic discipline of not standing in the wrong place.
Which is, frankly, fantastic life advice, regardless of whether you can summon fire or not.
Right. I should embroider that on a pillow. But it sets the tone perfectly for what we're doing today, because the mission of this deep dive isn't about how to blow things up.
No, not at all.
It's about the engineering required to keep things from blowing up in your face. We've got 6 distinct schools to get through today: air, ice, electricity, earth, water, and fire.
And a really fascinating cast of characters teaching them.
Oh, they are wild. But the goal here is to understand the underlying mechanics.
Because when you strip away those fantasy tropes you mentioned, what we're really looking at is a collection of very distinctive philosophies on control. We're going to see how the most powerful people in this college are actually the ones who do the least amount of visible work.
I love that less is more vibe. But before we get to the professors, we really have to talk about the campus itself. Because the Manaheim College of Elemental Magic doesn't sound like a cozy boarding school.
Not even a little bit. The source material describes the architecture as brutalist functionalism. It's less like a university and more like a fortified arena complex.
Yeah, the text specifically mentions it's built for rapid evacuation and clear sightlines.
Which makes perfect sense when you think about it. If you have a freshman class practicing pyromancy, you don't want wooden wainscoting and narrow hallways.
That sounds like an insurance nightmare.
Exactly. You want blast shields. You want containment.
It's designed like a hazardous materials facility. You have these open towers for aeromancy to let the wind through so the pressure doesn't just blow the walls out.
Right, and the damp, sunken terraces for hydromancy to catch all the runoff.
And then you have the grounded facilities for electromancy that are checked constantly for conductivity. But the heart of this whole operation, the thing that keeps this industrial complex from just falling apart, is the dean, Wu Lei.
And visually, he is quite the character.
Oh, he really is. The sources describe him as elderly, with silver white hair, monk-like robes. But physically, he's built like a tank.
Yeah, the text says he treats his body not as an ornament, but as essential infrastructure.
Essential infrastructure, that's such a great phrase.
That distinction is key to understanding the whole school, really. He teaches that elemental magic is about alignment, not accumulation.
Which is why he uses meditation and martial forms.
Exactly, because he views the elements not as weapons you pick up and swing, but as participants you have to negotiate with. When ambient mana gets volatile, just his physical presence stabilizes the room.
The sources even note that when lightning is present, he smiles slightly more than usual. I loved his core philosophy, which seems to be printed on the wall of his dojo or something. It says, the elements aren't angry, they are just unsupervised.
And that right there is the thesis statement for this entire deep dive. Think about what that implies. Fire wants to burn. That's its nature.
Right. Electricity wants to connect. Water wants to float downhill.
They aren't malicious. They just have no agenda other than their physics.
So Dean Wu Lei's job is to provide that supervision, to be the manager.
He is the stabilizing rod in the reactor.
So let's get into the classrooms and meet the people providing that supervision. I want to start with the high energy stuff, the stuff that usually goes boom. Let's talk about pyromancy and electromancy.
The energy elements. Let's start with fire. Pyromancy.
Okay, so the professor is Riser Callahan, and he is a lot. The sources call him the loud one.
Very fitting nickname.
He's of Irish heritage, walks around barefoot to ground himself, and literally has sparks caught in his beard when he laughs. He treats the elements like rowdy family members.
He sounds chaotic, right? Like someone who just loves to watch the world burn. But if you actually look at his curriculum, he's teaching something very precise.
Combustion engineering.
Yes, combustion engineering.
Which sounds way more technical than just throwing fireballs.
It is. His classroom is the Ember Vault.
Yep.
It's got blackened stone, lava channels, suspended braziers, and it's designed to teach one thing: fire follows conditions.
Fuel, oxygen, and ignition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
O'Callaghan's lesson is that if you don't define those conditions, the fire will define them for you.
And usually not in a way you like. There's a safety maxim in his documents that gave me chills. If it can spread, it will.
Precisely. Fire is greedy, it consumes. So the coursework isn't about making bigger fires, it's about acceleration and conversion. It's about managing a reaction.
Because a novice pyromancer creates a giant explosion, but a
master creates a flame exactly 1 inch high that stays exactly where it's put.
So it's about boundaries.
It's entirely about boundaries. Now contrast that with electromancy, or lightning magic. Because a lot of people group fire and lightning together as the blast spells, but the philosophy is totally different.
Yeah. Electromancy is taught by Julie Joseph. They call her the live wire.
Again, very fitting.
She has this Caribbean heritage, talks a mile a minute, and her hair is perpetually frizzy from static. I feel like I'd love her class, but I'd be absolutely terrified the whole time.
You should be terrified. The distinction the sources make here is fascinating. Fire is about burning. Electricity is about connection and transmission. It's the fastest discipline.
And the classroom, the storm crucible, smells like ozone and warm metal. That is such a visceral detail. It feels like the inside of an overheating computer.
It sets the stage for the danger. Because the key insight with Julie Joseph is that electromancy isn't about making big sparks. It's about grounding.
Right.
A bad current leaves scorch marks. A well-designed current actually does work. Her maxim is always assume conductivity.
Because if you don't give the lightning a path, it's going to go through you.
And the human body is a terrible resistor. We pop. Electricity punishes hesitation. Fire you can kind of negotiate with, right? You can starve it of oxygen. But lightning is instant.
So you have Race O'Callaghan treating fire like a rowdy friend he has to keep an eye on, and Julie Joseph treating lightning like a high-speed conversation you literally cannot afford to misunderstand.
It's reaction time. One is management, the other is reflexes.
Okay, so that's the high-speed, high-energy stuff. But then you have the complete opposite end of the spectrum. The source material calls them the structure elements, earth and ice. This feels like a massive gear shift in the curriculum.
It is. We go from the speed of light to the slowness of stone. This is geomancy.
Taught by Vahan Petrosian, the sources describe him as the foundation. He's Armenian, built like a brick wall, and very unhurried. He sounds like the most reliable person on the planet.
He has to be. His classroom is the stone-forged chamber. Deep subterranean, you've got floating boulders, sand pits for stress testing. But the key concept here isn't throwing rocks, it's redistribution.
Redistribution? See, I always thought earth magic was just telekinesis, picking up a rock and chucking it.
Think about the physics of that. You don't push a mountain. If a student tries to push the earth with brute force, the earth wins every single time. That's the trap.
So geomancy is about understanding load-bearing reality.
Exactly. You shift the weight, so gravity does the work for you.
It's structural engineering again.
It is. It's understanding where the stress points are.
That's why his maxim is, the earth does not forgive impatience. If you rush a stone structure, it just collapses on your head.
Exactly. It's not flashy, it's not loud, but it is enduring. You are building things that are meant to last for centuries. And then, staying with that theme of slow and steady, we have cryomancy, ice magic.
Now, this was the biggest surprise for me in the whole stack of documents. I always thought ice magic was just blasting things with frost, like a sci-fi freeze ray.
Right, creating cold.
Yeah. But the professor, Kalle Caputi, who goes by the long silence, teaches it as thermodynamics for elementalists.
Yes, because this is pure physics. You cannot create cold. Cold doesn't actually exist as a force. It's just the absence of heat.
Which makes sense.
So cryomancy is actually the art of removing energy from a system.
Which is such a cool, pun, entirely intended way to think about it. The classroom is the frost sanctum. It's super insulated, geometric ice pillars everywhere. You can see your breath. And Kalle Caputi is this stoic Inuit instructor who barely speaks.
His silence is the lesson. While pyromancy accelerates reactions, cryomancy arrests them. It stops motion. It's about preservation and stillness. He's teaching students how to steal heat.
But there's a danger there too, right? It's not just about freezing a puddle so you don't step in it.
Oh, thermal shock and brittleness. That's the specific danger. If you freeze something too fast, it shatters. The maxim is freeze gradually, melt deliberately.
Because if you snap freeze a structural beam or, a person, they become completely brittle. It requires extreme precision.
So if Rizocalian is a sledgehammer, Calicaputi is a scalpel.
That's a perfect analogy. One is adding energy to the system until it bursts. The other is removing it until it stops entirely. Both are deadly if you don't know what you're doing.
So we have the energy elements that want to move fast, the structure elements that want to stay put or stop moving. That leaves us with the fluid elements, air and water.
These feel like the hardest to pin down because they are always moving, but in very different ways.
They are the variables in the equation. Let's look at aeromancy. Air magic.
Taught by Aylin Beck, the Windwalker. They're of Central Asian heritage, very playful, distracted. Their clothes are always rippling even when they're indoors. The source defines the school not just as wind, but as shaping the medium through which force travels.
That is a very sophisticated definition. It governs breath, sound, pressure. We tend to ignore air. We walk through it every day and don't feel it. But it's omnipresent, and it has mass. It's heavy.
If you compress it, it hits like a truck.
Exactly. The classroom is the sky vault, basically a high open tower with wind chimes and floating banners everywhere.
And the rule that absolutely made me laugh, if the papers move, you have done too much.
It sounds funny, right? Like a strict librarian rule.
Yeah.
But think about the implication.
Yeah.
Air expands in all directions. If you are trying to use air to, say, lift a specific object or deflect a projectile, but you accidentally blow all the papers off the desks across the room.
You failed.
You failed because you lack control. You are creating turbulence, not focused force. The goal is to move the air only where you need it without moving everything else and causing collateral damage.
Which brings us to water. Hydromancy, taught by Sari Whippo.
The Flobo.
I love that nickname so much. She sounds so warm and reassuring. She's of Southeast Asian heritage, very patient. But the source material warns that people really underestimate water because it seems gentle.
Right, it yields to the touch. But water isn't traumatic.
Yep.
It's inevitable. It exerts force through persistence and volume. And unlike air, water is incompressible. If you hit water fast enough, it's like hitting solid concrete.
Her core concept is volume engineering.
Yes. It's not about shooting a water jet. It's about managing the flow of massive, massive weight.
And a classroom, the tidal hall, is full of circular pools, suspended water rings, heavy mist. But the hidden danger here isn't getting wet, it's hydraulic collapse.
Or structural undermining. Water goes where it wants. It seeks the lowest point. If you don't account for drainage, like where does the water go next? You might summon a wave to put out a fire, and you end up washing away the entire foundation of the building.
You solve one problem and instantly create a much bigger one.
Exactly. Hydromancy is about inevitability. It grinds mountains down to sand eventually.
So we've got these 6 very different personalities. You have Riddis shouting at fire, Kalik silently stealing heat, Julie racing electricity. How did this all actually work together? Because the college isn't 6 separate buildings on different islands. It's one massive complex.
That's where the synthesis comes in. The heart of the campus is the Grand Confluence Arena. It's a central space where all these schools intersect. And this is where the real genius of Dean Wulei's design becomes clear.
Because balance isn't theoretical here. In the real world, these things interact constantly. You don't get fire without the heat affecting the air pressure.
Exactly. In the arena, they teach cross-discipline dynamics. Hydromancy is used to cool pyromancy systems so they don't melt the equipment.
Cryomancy stabilizes volatile elements that might explode.
And geomancy anchors the mobile elements like air and water so they don't tear the place apart.
It's like a giant game of rock, paper, scissors, but with high-stakes physics.
It's an ecosystem. And despite their wildly different teaching styles, whether it's the loud passion of Rizo Callahan or the quiet precision of Sari Whippo, they all share one shared reality, one goal.
Safety and control.
Safety and control. It's written into the charter.
The source material actually calls it the school of restraint.
And that's the aha moment we promised at the beginning. The college values control over magnitude. The greatest demonstration of power for a master elementalist at Manaheim isn't blowing up a mountain.
It's preventing the explosion.
It's preventing the explosion. It's the difference between a bomb and an engine. One is just raw release. The other is controlled power actually doing work.
That is such a powerful image. Dean Woolley, Julie Joseph, Vahan Petrosian, they are all teaching the exact same lesson through different mediums. You are not here to be the source of the chaos. You are here to engineer the chaos into something useful.
Which is such a massive shift from the typical wizard fantasy. We've gone from the combustion of the Ember Vault to the absolute stillness of the Frost Sanctum, and the common thread is that magic is basically physics with an attitude.
Physics with an attitude. And a curriculum that demands you respect the material.
Because that implies a heavy responsibility.
Yeah.
If you don't respect the material, if you don't respect the fire or the gravity, it will hurt you.
So, bringing this back to you, the listener, why should you care about a fictional magic college? I mean, none of us are going to be summoning lightning bolts to charge our phones anytime soon.
Because the principles are universally applicable. True mastery in any field, whether you're coding software, managing a marketing team, or just learning a new hobby, is usually about preparation and understanding the medium.
It's like the aromancy rule. If the papers move, you've done too much.
Right. Think about that in a leadership context. If you have to scream and shout to get things done, if you have to disrupt everyone's workflow to make your point, you are creating turbulence. You're a bad aromancer. A master applies force only where it is needed.
Or the geomancy rule, the earth does not forgive impatience.
We see that all the time. People want the result right now. They want to launch the product. They want to finish the project. But if you skip the foundational work, if you don't understand the load-bearing reality of the situation, it collapses. It doesn't matter how enthusiastic you are. Gravity wins.
Or pyromancy. If it can spread, it will. Bad news, gossip, toxic culture, it follows the exact same rules as fire.
It feeds on oxygen. It feeds on attention. If you don't define the conditions and boundaries for your team or your life, those external forces will define them for you.
Exactly. The magic is just a metaphor for handling force and complexity in our own lives. We are all dealing with energy, we are all dealing with pressure, and we are all dealing with things that can spiral out of control.
We are all Manaheim students, in a way. Just try not to stand in the wrong place.
That is a fantastic way to look at it. Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a thought based on Dean Woolley's philosophy. We talked earlier about how the elements are just unsupervised forces.
Right. Not angry, just unsupervised.
So here is the question for you to mull over. What unsupervised forces in your own life are running wild right now? Maybe it's your time management just flowing away like unchanneled water.
Or your energy levels spiking and crashing like lightning.
Or maybe it's a specific emotion, like anger or anxiety, that's just burning through your fuel. And what kind of structural engineering do you need to put in place to channel that force into something useful?
Do you need a bit more geomancy? Some grounding and stability routines?
Or maybe some aromancy, learning to move with the flow without knocking everything over in the process?
Or perhaps some cryomancy, just
Yeah.
cooling the whole system down before something snaps?
It's really worth thinking about. Maybe we all need to be our own Dean Woolley sometimes, supervising the chaos.
Supervising our own internal elements.
I like that.
Thanks for diving deep with us into the Manaheim College of Elemental Magic. We'll see you on the next one.
Stay grounded.